Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of The Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and today I have a guy who's got such a varied life. We're going to listen to all of the stories that make up the man known as Dell Cullum.
Well, that was very nice. Yes. I'm excited.
Well, that's because that's what I've learned about you so far. But first of all, you're going to tell us all about where you were born, where you were raised, and where you went to school before you start that journey of your life.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised here in Amagansett. Grew up on Hedges Lane. In fact, the house that I grew up in was just recently removed last year, and it was a shame to see it go. It's an open field now, and I believe it's sold. I went to school at Amagansett Grade School. Used to walk there with my sister every morning when you used to be able to walk to school, from kindergarten to 8th grade. And then I went to East Hampton High School, where I attended until I joined the United States Navy in 1979.
Well, did you graduate from there?
I left in the 11th grade, and I ended up getting a GED in the service.
And so you didn't go to college then?
No, ma'am.
Well, it goes to show you that there are people who can live wonderful, varied lives without it.
Absolutely. It does go to show you that.
And so you went into the Navy. Now, there was no war at that time.
No, in fact, it was that was one of the things that I thought was a plus. Now was a good time to join.
Right.
Things were all good. Well, come to find out, obviously, when I joined in '79, I believe it was '81 when the war broke out in the Persian Gulf.
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm, or no, I believe it was even earlier than that. Regardless, there was something going on. And in Lebanon, in Beirut.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's where it was. And,
yes.
And
Desert
I was
Storm
in the submarine force, and we were deployed, and it was like, wow, I thought things were supposed to be calm. But things turned out okay for me in the service, and I was able to make it home, and I ended up getting out in Hawaii, of all places.
Oh, what a shame.
What a shame.
I mean, I've been there, I know. What a terrible place.
Well, it's funny because I spent 2.5 years there, and I couldn't wait to leave. I mean, I was tired of going in a circle. I think the first year,
yeah.
I could have drawn the map of the island. I knew everything about it.
Yeah. Yes. When you have been there, you realize that you just go around.
Yes.
And that, but you do find some isolated beaches that nobody has been in. At least I did when I was
That's true.
there.
Absolutely.
And I went in water, which is something I never do now, which is go in water I don't know. I always try to remember to go in water I know.
I believe that was probably the last time I even was in the ocean, was when I was in Hawaii. I haven't been in the ocean in that many years, and I'm not going to say how many that is, but that's quite a while.
Are you kidding?
I am dead serious.
I'm a Fire Islander. I was in Fire Island for 35 years. I used to go in the ocean 4 times a day.
I don't know what it is. Now, keep in mind, as a photographer, which I'll get into if you want to talk about that, but I'm at the beach every single morning photographing the sunrise for the past 4 years. Yet, I cannot say I remember the last time I actually physically went into the water in a swimming capacity. I don't think it's ever happened since I left to join the Navy back in 1979. Phyllis, I swear I cannot recollect. I never thought about it until now. It does seem strange.
I'm amazed because I've almost died in the ocean at least 4 times. Where,
Oh, my goodness.
And listen, that ocean is.
Yeah. Well, I almost did in Hawaii, and I maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, I'm very careful when I go in now because I had knee replacement. I can't get up very quickly.
yes,
So I only go when my son is standing on the shore watching me, and it's calm.
And it's calm.
Relatively calm.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's never really calm. You always know there's going to be a sea puss, what we call a sea puss.
Right. Well, you can always go into the bay as well. I find
Well,
that
I swim in the
very
bay
beautiful.
every single
Well, there you go.
day.
I had a feeling.
The bay I
had a
love.
feeling.
So so when you were in the Navy, were you on a ship?
I was on submarines. That
You
was
mean
that
in a
was
little
my.
thing?
I went to I
Oh.
went to submarine school in Connecticut. Graduated top of the class, which actually for me was a push in my life because I'd never believed I was that advanced in education. I always felt it bored me, and I never could, accelerate in it. That's why I ended up joining the service to try to learn a field, something technical to bring me, through life with a job. And I graduated top of the class in my first school at submarine school, and it kind of made me feel like, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of smarts, It was a very difficult and very technical school. I loved it. The one thing about submarine school is you have to learn every aspect of the submarine. You have to learn the hydraulics. You have to learn the electrical. You have to learn the ballast. You have to learn everybody's job. And then you become qualified for submarines and do only your job. But that makes it an emergency situation. Everybody knows everybody's job, and there's very few accidents.
Well, I can tell you something. I'm a very educated woman. I have 2 master's degrees, an undergraduate degree, and about 150 hours after my 2 master's degrees. I couldn't do that. I would have funked that so badly. So there you go. There's a book called Multiple Intelligence, which is about the way different brains work, and what is for me, a piece of cake.
Could be different for somebody else.
Is
Right.
climbing Mount Everest.
Right.
But for you, that sort of stuff was just wonderful, and you were able to succeed in it.
I really enjoyed my service and my time in
And
the
you didn't
service.
mind being in a little
No, not at
claustrophobia?
all, not at all.
Oh, dear.
Maybe it had something to do with my age. I joined at 17. I was still a
yes.
boy, a young man,
Yes.
and I really didn't have those fears yet. I don't believe. I mean, it never seemed to bother me.
So where did you go from the service, from the Navy?
From the Navy,
And Hawaii.
and Hawaii.
We left
well,
off, you were in Hawaii.
Right, we left off that I was going in circles.
In the life
on
and
the
times
island,
of Dell Cullum.
on the island of Oahu, I was getting bored going in circles. What I did is I traveled around the South Pacific and saw the beautiful islands and the tropical sense on the Pacific side. Fell in love with that, started taking pictures, and I think it was at that point I really started to find a love for color and all the beautiful colors, and I started to recognize the sunsets and the colors of the sky and the stars, and really started to get a sense of the world around me as I started to travel. Ultimately, I came back to the United States. And on the West Coast, I fell in love with the West. I mean, everything about the deserts and the mountains.
Yeah, well,
and
it's very dramatic. There's no 2 ways about it.
no,
The West is dramatic.
it's a completely different. Now,
Yes.
not to say we're beautiful here. Every area, region of the United States is beautiful in its own right. The West is just magnificent.
It's spectacular.
It's spectacular.
Yeah,
It's
there's no-
breathtaking, which led into my interest and love for not only the scenic landscape out west, but the wildlife. And then it all came together. It was the whole nature thing that was pulling me towards it. And the way I chose to connect with it was through photography. And that led into my earliest recollections of my love, my passion for what I do now in photography, as well as my connection with wildlife and nature and the environment and everything. It's all connected into the
Yes, it
same
is.
thing.
Yes, it is.
I credit it to my first visions out west, to see how awesomely beautiful our country is.
And I dare say it also has a little bit to do with your roots in a very beautiful area of the country.
Without a doubt.
Narragansett,
Without a doubt. Without a
mean,
doubt.
The East End, when you were being raised, before it really exploded into what it is now, I mean, I know it was spectacular because I went to Jamesport in the mid-50s, and I know what Jamesport was like, and Riverhead and all those areas, and it was just spectacular, wonderful.
It's so difficult not to feel like I'm offending people when I say to them, growing up in Amagansett during my time, which is the early 60s into the late 70s, was the most beautiful
Yes.
and spectacular time to grow up in this area. It was magical.
Yes.
It was like a fairy tale. Thinking back, and I have fortunately my memory of my growing up in this area is very secure in my mind. Just everything about it was beautiful.
Well, you were taking pictures in your head all the
I
time.
was
Yes.
mental
sure.
pictures.
Yes, I'm sure you were, because I know that when you are a visual person, I'm giving you my teacher, when you're a visual person, those kind of things stay with you. You see a scene and you know that scene, and you get the feeling of the texture and the color and what's going on with all of the life there.
The emotions,
That's right.
the warmth.
And what it stirs in you.
the warmth inside,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's really incredible. And you have taken all of this and translated into your wonderful passion for keeping our places clean.
Phyllis, I kind of use it as my voice now. Most people say, Dell, your pictures are speaking volumes, and whether it's about the wildlife or the local beauty or the trash issues. And that's the best way to put it. It has become my language. So I can show a picture and it can say everything I want it to say about whatever I'm talking about, whether it be a particular animal or the trash issue. Not all pictures are pretty, beautiful sunrises.
No.
A lot of times it has to be the truth. It has to be hard-hitting, not so pleasant, but you can look at a picture like that and it'll say volumes and reach a lot of people and really get your message across better than you could in words to more people.
But you did carry out with that incredible cleanup you did in March on the beach, which I couldn't partake of, by the way, because I can't walk long stretches of the beach. Otherwise, I would have been right by your side.
And many people who couldn't do it for the same reasons, Phyllis, would have done the same, and we appreciate the support of the people like yourself and those. Could not have done any of this without the support and the help of all the volunteers that are so dedicated, much like myself, some even more, have been doing this longer than I have.
Yes.
I'm just trying to bring more attention to it and bring more attention to the importance of doing it. But the volunteers out here that pick up that dropped ball, if you will, it is absolutely heartwarming in itself, just knowing that people will come out and do this strictly for the benefit of the appearance of our town. It's a wonderful thing to do, and that's what got me pumped up to do more things and have big events, much like our big event we did on the beach back in February.
You know, I swim at two places in Maidstone. One is at the end of Flaggy Hole, and another one is a secret place I'm not telling anybody. But every time I go, pick up the cigarette butts, pick up all the little bits of, I mean, we all do. I mean, all of my friends who go down to Flaggy Hole, where, you know, quite a few of the people who live around there, we're always cleaning up after people. I don't understand the mentality of people who think they can throw something out. I mean, I can drive by where I'm making that turn on after Kings Point Road, and I'm going to go down to Maidstone, and I'm on 3 Mile Harbor, and I see it. Oh, I saw the can. Oh, there's something over there. And I mean, it's like, you know, and I can't really stop because I'm making a curve on the curve, and I can't stop, but I want to stop. Yeah, and sometimes, once in a while, I really will stop because I can't take it.
I know exactly what you're saying.
And it's like, why are you throwing this out your window? Just put it in your car.
You know, unfortunately, it's not just that happening. It would be much easier if that was as simple as it was, people throwing stuff out, because then they could just stop throwing stuff out. You could reach everybody and say, look, let's all stop throwing stuff out, but it's not the case. Unfortunately, a lot of the trash you're seeing along the roadsides is debris that flies out of trucks, whether it be garbage trucks that haven't clearly hoppered in the trash into the container part, or people that don't secure trash in the back of their pickups. You see trucks flying down that big stretch and garbage flying out the back end.
Yes, you do see that.
You can get behind any garbage truck and you'll see little bits and pieces. And of course, when you see the garbage cans getting overfilled at the beaches, that's where it becomes a problem, because you have wildlife that doesn't know better, doesn't know the rules and moral obligations of littering and trash.
You mean they don't speak English?
No, and they pull stuff out. They're pulling out looking for food. It's getting in the wind. The seagulls are grabbing it, bringing it, and that's how come you see a lot of it on the beach. Of course, we have a huge problem with garbage being washed onto our shores as well, as you see in the show that they're airing right here on LTV, Cleaning the Sands of Time. It's a big problem, Phyllis, and from all those angles comes our problem. So
you mean the balloons?
Yeah. The balloons. The balloons.
We get them all the time.
It's very disheartening to see the lack of attention that the trash issue has been given in the past. Things are starting to take notice now. We have great support from the town. We have great support from the East Hampton Town trustees. We have awesome support from the litter committee. The town department, the village public works, the village, everybody is really starting to get on board and pitch in and lend a hand to all us volunteers. Parks and Recreation starting to pick up the game, starting to empty those trash cans a little bit more often.
Yes.
These are the things that are going to change this problem. And I thank them so much for the help for doing this. I know every now and then I get a little rough on some of these groups, because we can dance around these issues forever. We have been, okay? Dancing's over. It's time to stand up and say, look, we are going to make this change and not talk about it any longer. And that's what prompted me to get this ball rolling on the cleanup issues in town. I do not see any reason why this town, surrounded by 3 sides of water, cannot be trash-free. There is no reason it cannot be that way. With everybody's help, the community is responsible to do this. All of us, the community, public services, everybody, if we all do a little bit, we are going to make the biggest difference ever, and it'll be a beautiful thing.
You hear him? Does everybody hear him?
It can happen. It's very simple.
You know the old, you're from your mouth to God's ears?
Yes.
Well, let's hope it's your mouth to everybody's ears in East Hampton. There's particularly one group that I know, because I see it down at Flaggy Hole, and that is people who rent and don't have a garbage sticker and don't want to go to the dump on a Sunday night, maybe, because it should be open a little bit later on Sunday night. And they put their garbage down by the cans that
That's
are
right.
around in Maidstone Park. And, you know, I don't know why they don't just take it home. I mean, that's what I did when I first moved here before I had, when I was still going back and forth. I would just take it home.
People don't do it because nobody's making them do it. Getting away with breaking or violating the trash and littering issues is easy. There's not much enforcement. The police have their hands full. They can't guard every garbage can and every beach, although I wish they could, because it would solve the problem. But they can't, so the problem will remain. That's why I say it's up to the community. Somebody's got to step up and say, hey, look, sir, nicely, very nicely. Look, ma'am, look, sir, you know, that's really not right, because what you're doing is, and then explain to them. I mean, you know, most times it doesn't take much to point out that the bag next to it that somebody else dropped is being picked apart by seagulls and being spread all over the beach. It's not right. You should take this stuff home. Somebody should say something. And until they do, they're going to keep doing it. And that's why, Phyllis, they keep doing it. Somebody has to get down there and enforce these trash laws.
I am going to do it, and I'm going to tell them you told me to do it.
You can do that, but you got to be polite.
Oh, I will.
You got to be
I'll
polite.
try not to be.
Because getting angry gets you, getting aggressive gets you nowhere. I've learned that.
Also, like the cleaning up after their dogs, I must say.
Very, very serious issue, Phyllis.
You
Now
don't
you're
have to
talking
tell
about
me.
disease. There's several diseases. We have parasites. We have potential threats to children, pets,
Absolutely.
Wildlife. I mean, you know, it's a health
Absolutely.
risk.
It
People
is.
don't think about it. They think, the dog's going to the bathroom on the beach. And we've been doing it for years. My God, that's the worst thing you could say. For decades. That's so disgusting. Think about it.
Yes.
So it is dangerous, and it's a habit we have to reverse. We have to start thinking properly. Best part about it, the children are starting to pick it up. I've done work with John Ryan Jr., who's very active in the community with the children, the Surf Riders Club in the East Hampton Middle School. He's got a variety of organizations. I do cleanups with his kids all the time. These kids are eager, they're anxious, they love to get out there and pick up garbage, they like to turn around and see the results, and they like to do it in groups. They like to all be involved in these things. I've interviewed some of these kids. They're what they say is balanced and worth listening to. It's a good example of what we have to look forward to as the next generation that's going to be responsible in keeping this town clean. I feel good about it.
Good.
I think the children are great, but we have to continue the education for the
Yes.
adults.
Yes.
And the children can do it as well.
Yes, the children can tell the adults what they should be doing. And before we getting to the
Mm-hmm.
end over here, I want you to tell us a little bit about your wildlife rescue work
Yes.
that you do.
Locally, I have Hampton Wildlife Removal and Rescue. I am a big advocate for the well-being of nature and wildlife, as my cleaning efforts are part of, but wildlife in particular. Wildlife doesn't have help. They need our help. As we're squeezing them into smaller areas, we're now starting to talk about when they become an issue, extermination is a solution. When we get to that point, it's time to offer as much help as we can to wildlife. There's some great organizations out here on the East End. the Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center being one of them.
Where my daughter works.
Wonderful, wonderful place. It's they need help though. They're staffed, but they can't take
Yes.
care of every animal.
And also, they don't have grants, and they have to
True.
do fundraisers.
And they have a wonderful group of volunteers as well, from
they do.
Montauk to I don't know how far up west, but they do. And we all work together. Now, in my particular situation, I have a service and a rescue operation. I rescue animals locally when people need me, but I have a business as well where I remove nuisance wildlife, nuisance animals that get into your homes over the winter or during the summer, or get into your pool, or squirrels, raccoons, foxes, that type of thing. That's my job.
Foxes even go in houses?
No, not usually, but I do
know raccoons
I do
do.
trapping when they become a nuisance in people's yards. They like to lay down by pools and drink out of pools and that kind of stuff. But I do
Really?
100% humane trapping.
I would tell them to leave a tip. if they took me from my pool.
Well, see, like I said, I do humane trapping. That's why the animals love me, because I love them. And we have a mutual understanding. They'll get into my cage, and I'll take them to a nice place so they can go have a beautiful life.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't that nice?
I love that because you know what? I really, even when I find an ant in my house and I know I'm going to kill him because I feel badly. Isn't that awful? That I should feel so badly?
I run
help
into
it.
people like that all the time, and I think
say,
it's wonderful.
Sorry to end your life, and I feel like, my God, is that a sin on my soul?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to insects, and sometimes when you get to some of the disease-carrying rodents, I don't have as much of a passion for that. But all wildlife is amazing,
Yes.
and it's beautiful. And if we can save them by any means, we'd like to do that.
Well, there's going to be a new thing about trying to spay and neuter the deer, the does particularly, which I'm all in favor of, and we can also make a contribution. We just about are ready to finish, and I am telling you, you are one of the most interesting guys, and we didn't get to all of the decorations that you did yourself.
Yes, well, you can always have me back.
Yeah, well, I will, because you know what, I do a show every Friday, so.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I really enjoy coming here and speaking with you.
Yes.
Every time I see you in the hallway, it's always nice talking to you and saying hi. And
Yes. Well, I tend to be a blabbermouth.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful,
Thank
really.
you.